Good evening and welcome to this week's programme. A lot has happened since last week with the government announcements on more restrictions due to COVID-19 and the approaching winter flu season. With both national and local infection rates growing, although thankfully in Weymouth and Portland area we still enjoy some of the lowest levels in the country, and if we all remain sensible, keeping our distance, washing our hands and covering our faces when we're required, hopefully it'll remain that way. As you're, I'm sure, aware, a new track and trace app has been launched this week, and although there have been some teething troubles already, we'll return and hear more about that later in the programme. First of all, in the local news this week, a new interactive map has been put up called Crashmap. It shows the dangerous roads for cyclists, showing where fatal, serious and slight cycling accidents have happened in your area by putting in your postcode, and it uses data from the police and government. More than 21% of people cycle in Dorset, according to the latest government statistics, and that number is only set to rise. The Department of Transport measured cycling levels during the tightest period of the lockdown, from March the 16th to June the 1st, and it showed that the activity had risen, cycling activity that is, by 300%. Crashmap shows that 67 cycling accidents occurred in Weymouth from 2014 to 2019. And the real problem area falls right in the heart of our community here, with some of the real hotspots featuring on Portland Road, Portland Beach Road, Buxton Road, Lanehouse Rocks Road, with several serious accidents, many slight ones, and unfortunately one fatal accident. To look at the data in your area, you can go to crashmap.co.uk. That's crashmap.co.uk. You can see on the screen the local map there showing the slight accidents in yellow, the more serious ones in red, and unfortunately the fatality in black. Moving on, statistics released by the Animal and Plant Health Agency have shown that 7 out of 12 recorded cases of rabies in bats over the last 2 years have been in Dorset. The agency tests dead bats submitted by members of the public and monitors how widespread the disease is in Great Britain. Only 27 infected bats have been found in more than 15,000 tests since 1986, so the risk of catching rabies from a bat is very low. However, it seems that Dorset is more of a hotspot for the disease than anywhere else in the country, with 7 out of the last 12 recorded cases coming from the county. So if you find a dead bat, do handle it carefully, put it in a bag and contact the Bat Conservation Trust as they are involved in the survey. You can fill out a form on their website at www.bats.org.uk, or you can telephone them on 0345 1300 228 and they'll send you a pack so that you can send the bat into the Animal and Plant Health Agency to be tested. So that's www.bats.org.uk or telephone number 0345 1300 228. Moving on, Weymouth Harbour Master Keith Harris retires at the end of October, having done 7 years in the role. His successor is Jamie Joyce, and he takes over the role on the 2nd of November after a week's handover from Mr. Howarth. Local supermarkets, Tesco and Morrison's, have reintroduced limits on purchases of some products this week after a rush following the recent government announcements, and local people fearing that we're going into another lockdown and doing some panic buying. Spokespersons for the supermarkets have said that they have a good supply of all products, and if people continue purchasing at their usual limits, there's plenty of stock for everyone. Of course, we all realise if people go out and buy 10 loaves of bread or 10 packs of toilet roll, there simply won't be enough to go round and it will run out. And it will result in a shortage. But if we all carry on as normal and buy at our normal levels, everything will be fine. Whilst on the topic of supermarkets, shoppers in Dorset have helped towards the overall donations of £3 million this month to 3 life-saving charities that have been impacted by COVID-19. The Tesco Health Charity has given money to Cancer Research UK, British Heart Foundation and Diabetes UK. Over a 13-day period, customers rounded up their shop bill to the nearest £1 and raised £1.5 million in Dorset. What a fantastic amount of money. And the supermarket gave that match funding, making the £3 million donation to charities. It was also sad to hear this week that a popular visitor attraction, the Blue Pool at Fursbrook near Wareham, is to close after the death of its owner, Jennifer Barnard, who died aged 91. Miss Barnard had been running the tourist attraction for 65 years. The iconic Blue Pool on the Fursbrook estate in Purbeck has announced that the site has had to close for legal implications. Moving on to tonight's first feature, which is a truly local and traditional story. 2020 is the first year in peacetime that there has been no Punch and Judy show on Weymouth Beach, and we're in very real danger of it not being back in 2021. There has been a Punch and Judy show in Weymouth for the last 140 years. It would be such a pity if the tradition did not continue. But the hard facts are it costs money to run, in transport, storage of the stage and the puppets, and of course income for Professor Mark Poulton, who has run the Punch and Judy in Weymouth since 2005, when he took over from Guy Higgins. Of course, this year Mark has not been able to do any shows on the beach or the many other events he usually goes to. Mark started his business in 1989, aged 17. He taught himself how to wood carve, sign write, sew, and all of the other things involved in running the show. He still makes and maintains everything for the show between working in Weymouth and the many other events around the southwest. When time allows, he also makes for other performers, collectors, and also paints traditional shop front signage. He performed for 16 years in 8 different resorts in England and Wales before coming to Weymouth. I'm sure you're all very familiar with Punch and Judy, but just to remind ourselves of some of the tradition of Punch and Judy, I've got a little video for you now, and there are some flashing images in some old-fashioned film in the video.
There's laughter in the air. Laughter, the magic that always draws the crowds. So now let's meet the folks who bring us our entertainment, who give us laughter, thrills, beauty and romance. Mr. Punch and his wife may be just dolls of rag and sawdust, but to the children they're real people.
Weymouth as the venue, because of the long history that Punch and Judy has at Weymouth, dates back to the 1880s here, with continuous performances apart from the war years, and it's one of Britain's very last, if not the last, permanent seaside pitch. It was only in the 1860s that Punch and Judy came to the seasides, when the seaside holiday boom started. It was a busking show. Punch would go wherever there were people. I've built a replica Victorian-style Punch and Judy show for the Big Grin birthday this year. As you can see, it's blue and white checks because it wasn't red and white stripes back then.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I've brought you to this spot for a reason. Punch and Judy was seen at Weymouth in 1880 by a man called Professor Murray, and he had a show like this, and he wheeled it up and down, and this is where he used to do the shows, but at that time this was still beach. So I think we're going to do 3 cheers for Professor Murray. Hip hip! Hip hip!
Weymouth was a typical seaside resort in keeping with places more like Margate, Blackpool, Brighton, for example. You'd get all the people coming down from places like Swindon, Bristol when they had the week off work. The 1950s were incredibly busy. That was probably the golden years. There would have been Punch and Judy at every major resort. At Weymouth, there was Frank Edmonds, and he was here for 50 odd years. He pushed the show from Chester all the way down to Weymouth, stopping off at towns and villages and doing shows to earn money, and then at the end of the summer would push it all the way back up to Chester.
No, we can...
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody!
Not loud enough, we'll do it again then.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody! Oh, that was very nice.
Was very nice. We'll stand up and take a bow.
All right, here we go. Out to do.
Oh, my head. Dear, oh dear, sit yourself down, here we are. You do a good show,
All right.
and I'll see you all later on. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sing a song.
All right. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Oi.
What's that?
It's not Christmas.
Oh,
Sing a song about the British summertime.
raindrops keep falling on my head.
Not that one. We've had enough of the rain, haven't we? Sing the seaside one.
All right, do it. Oh, do it to me beside the seaside. Oh, do it to me beside the sea. Oh, do it to strolling up the brook. When the breeze,
So the good news is that if you want to see tradition like that continue in our seaside town, that you can support Mark and the Punch and Judy in Weymouth. There is a crowdfunding page set up, and if you type in crowdfund Weymouth Punch and Judy, it'll take you to a page where, if you feel you'd like to, you can make a donation. And remember, a donation, however small, helps. Every little bit helps. Let's see if our programme viewers can help Weymouth maintain one of its long-standing traditions. It would be such a pity to see it disappear after 140 years. 50 years ago, on the 19th of September 1970, the first Glastonbury Festival was held at Worthy Farm in Somerset, with about 1,500 people attending, compared to the 135,000 who have attended in recent years. Of course, the festival hasn't been able to happen this year in its 50th year, so I asked Janet Hall if she'd look back over the 50 years of Glastonbury Festival.
Have you ever been to the Glastonbury Festival? The name conjures up images of world-famous bands and singers making loud music before enthusiastic crowds, usually up to their knees in mud. But it all began about 50 years ago this month, on the 19th of September 1970, when a farmer, Michael Eavis, opened his farm, Worthy Farm, near Pilton in Somerset, for a festival. He called it Pilton Pop, Blues and Folk Festival, and about 1,500 people turned up. It was a great success, and soon it had changed its name, and by 1981 it had become an annual event. Sue Slade has some memories of its very early days, and Linda Perry has given us some photos of more recent times at Glastonbury. But let's hear from Sue first.
It was 49 years ago, and my mother-in-law lived very close to Glastonbury. She said to me, there's a man called Michael Eavis who has started a free festival in one of his farm fields. Let's go. We arrived at a field where there were a group of mainly youngish people sitting around on the grass, and in front of them there was music, a bit of live music and singing. So we spent a bit of the afternoon there, and then came home, and that, we found, was the beginning of Glastonbury Festival. And then gradually, as the years went on, the roads became more and more blocked, and it was impossible in the weeks leading up to Glastonbury to get anywhere, and also to get onto a train if you wanted to come from London to Somerset. And even though Michael Eavis did his bit, there was a lot of gate crashing and people jumping over the fence that he had put all the way around. He was not popular with the locals in that time, who used to have people entering their gardens. But he actually won them round with his generosity. From the early days, he supported Oxfam, and he also supported all the local schools, all the local charities, as well as other charities from overseas. He allowed the schools to have stalls selling food and things, and for both local charities and international charities, he would employ people from the charities to man the gates and the tickets, so quite a lot of money was earned that way. I had joined an a cappella choir in Glastonbury, and Michael Eavis invited the choir to come and sing on the Pyramid stage on the Sunday late morning. So we were all very excited about that, to be able to go backstage. That in itself was a treat, and to get in without any queuing. And so we did. And there weren't quite as many people on a Sunday morning as there are Sunday evening, but we still had a big crowd that we were singing to, and it was quite an experience to actually stand on that stage and look out and see what people actually saw from the stage. And of course, that gave me a few brownie points with my children, to be able to say that their mother had sang on the Pyramid stage. And we just preceded Rolf Harris, who everyone was very excited about in those days, but he's rather disappeared for various reasons now. And the other thing was, because I was the local fair trade lady and ran my own fair trade business, the lady that ran the church tent would buy all her tea, coffee and biscuits from me, and the church tent became a quite important place, as the weather for a few years was so bad that many people actually completely lost their tents and were quite distressed. And that's when they used to orientate and get comfort in the church tent.
And so Glastonbury was born out of the hippie festival movement of the late 60s and 70s, and is now the world's largest greenfield festival. If you have any memories of Glastonbury, please let us know. You can be included in the programme another time. Bye for now.
Thank you, Janet, and of course Sue for sharing your memories, and Linda for the photos. Well, it comes to that time in the programme where we celebrate birthdays, and this week we do have some birthdays to celebrate. So I get to play my dodgy jingle that doesn't always work. So here we go, let's give it a go. Well, it actually worked. That's amazing. That's probably the first time in about 5 or 6 weeks. This week we wish a very happy birthday to Angela Hallett, to Holly Munro and to Becky Blake, all celebrating their birthdays this week. Now, we also celebrate other things in this part of the programme as well, and I wanted to share with you tonight something really special and worth celebrating. That is Lucy, that one of our younger viewers has had her hair cut on the 3rd of September. Now, I know you think having your hair cut is not something to celebrate, But I want you to know that Lucy donated her hair to something called the Little Princess Trust, who'll use her hair to make wigs for children who've lost all their hair due to cancer and other illness. So that's amazing to start with. But not only that, Lucy gave 14 inches of her hair when it was cut off. She also wanted to raise money for the charity that makes the wigs. And she raised a fantastic £265. It actually costs £500 to make a wig. So Lucy's done very, very well with her fundraising and has raised a significant proportion of the cost of making a wig. Her family are obviously very proud of her, especially as it was her own idea to donate her hair and to raise the money. And I'd like to say well done to Lucy as well. And maybe if anyone who's listening, or several people who's listening, would like to help Lucy top up her fundraising towards that £500 so that the full cost of a wig can be made, maybe that they can get in touch with me. And I'll pop up the details on the screen now so you can see them. So well done, Lucy. And of course, if you're celebrating anything special or a birthday, do let us know so we can wish you a happy birthday in a future programme. We mentioned earlier about the Blue Pool closing as a visitor attraction near Wareham. Well, this week we've also heard from the Longleat Enterprises that Cheddar Gorge and Caves and the other attractions around Cheddar will not reopen this year, and there is great uncertainty over its future and reopening in 2021. The parent company of Cheddar Caves have said the effect of the coronavirus pandemic has been profound and confirmed that 40 of its staff will now be entering into formal redundancy consultation process. A spokesman for Longleat Enterprises said, due to the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, Cheddar Caves and its attractions will be closed for the foreseeable future. The effect of the pandemic on our operations has been profound. Sadly, we do not envisage the attraction being viable for the remainder of 2020, and there is great uncertainty as to the trajectory of the virus in 2021 and the associated guidance and rules and its effect on the business. It's with great regret amid the ongoing uncertainty and long timescales involved that we have to consider making redundancies, which will affect the vast majority of our staff working at Cheddar. I'm sure many of us have visited Cheddar and the caves, and perhaps it's familiar to us, and we do not realise how important the area is and how much of special scientific interest it is to not only the UK but the world at large. So I thought I would share that with you. Cheddar's world-famous caves are a very important visitor attraction, bringing many people to the gorge, which is Britain's greatest limestone gorge. Of course, itself situated in the Mendip Hills, which are an area of outstanding natural beauty. The area as a whole offers great walks, cycling and magnificent views. The Cheddar Gorge and Caves are designated as an area of outstanding natural beauty, a site of special scientific interest and a special area of conservation. Cheddar Gorge is the largest gorge in the United Kingdom and includes several show caves, including Goff's Cave. The gorge has been a centre of human settlement since Neolithic times, including a Saxon palace. It has a temperate climate and provides unique geological and biological environment. You can see an array of flora, including the cheddar pink, early purple orchids and the rare twin cliffs, Goff's Rock and cheddar whitebeam, as well as an abundance of wildlife from insects such as small pearl-bordered fritillaries, violet oil beetles and green orb weaver spiders, to woodland birds like the great spotted woodpecker and the tree creepers. It is also the home to the greater and lesser horseshoe bats who live in the caves. The caves were produced by the activity of an underground river containing stalactites and stalagmites. Goff's Cave, which was discovered in 1903, leads around 400 metres into the rock face and contains a variety of large rock chambers and formations. Cox's Cave, discovered in 1837, is smaller but contains many intricate formations. A further cave houses a children's entertainment walk known as the Crystal Quest. The gorge and the caves are also significant as the location of the discovery of the oldest and complete skeleton in 1903, known as Cheddar Man, which dates back to Mesolithic age over 9,000 years ago. Whilst we can't visit the caves at the moment, let's reflect on some previous footage shot from within the caves. The good news is the gift shops, cafes, bars and restaurants in the gorge are all still open. Visitors can buy many local products including cider and cheese. Indeed, they can watch cheddar cheese being made in the gorge. So there are still many reasons to visit Cheddar, which is a lovely place to visit. Let's hope that things improve and this great and important visitor attraction can reopen soon. In the meantime, Cheddar and the area surrounding it are a good option for a lovely day trip out. There we go, featuring the unfortunate news this week that it looks unlikely that Cheddar Caves and the attractions around there will reopen anytime soon. In fact, possibly not next year either. Let's hope they do open, and let's hope that those that have worked there for many years will eventually get their jobs back. It is, as I said in that piece, a truly lovely place to visit, and if you haven't visited Cheddar, it's well worth the trip. Earlier we heard about the Punch and Judy and how it went back to the 1800s in Weymouth. Well, another thing that goes back to the 1800s is the railway service to Weymouth. We've heard this week that delays are to be expected in Weymouth town centre as Weymouth's historic Harbourside tram lines are taken out, with work starting on October the 5th. Dorset Council will start to remove the tracks along Commercial Road from King Street to Lower St Albans Street on Monday, October the 5th, and is expected to take 8 weeks in total. The first 3 days of work will see the section of King Street closed from the Esso Garage to King's Junction. Now that's going to cause quite a bit of a disruption, obviously. Traffic will be diverted via Weymouth Way, Dorchester Road, Wester Hall, the Esplanade and back to King Street. Of course, the lines are part of Weymouth's heritage and many want them preserved, whilst others want them removed as they've reported to have caused many accidents over the years and are obviously quite dangerous when wet. The council say that they're looking at ways to preserve the track's history, and Councillor Ray Bryan has said the Weymouth branch line was officially taken out of service in 2016, by which time the poor condition of the tracks meant they could not be reused. We're keenly aware of the historic nature of the rails, and the project team is working with conservation officers to develop ideas on how best to preserve some historic elements of the tracks. We don't exactly know what's meant by that, but hopefully we will learn sometime soon. So I thought just before the work start, we'd actually look back to see what it was like when the tram lines were in operation. And again, this has got some historic footage in it, so there may be some flashing images. The Weymouth Harbour Tramway, also known as the Key Branch or Harbour Line, is a disused heavy rail line running entirely on the streets of Weymouth. It was last used for timetable British rail services in 1987, and its last ever services were special trains on the 1st of April 1995 and the 2nd of May 1999. It was opened in 1865 by the Great Western Railway. The Harbour Tramway runs from a junction north of the main station through the streets adjacent to the backwater and to the harbour, to the quay. Passenger trains began in 1889 transporting travellers to the Channel Island ferries. As freight traffic grew, several sidings and loops were added to the main line to serve harbourside businesses. The town bridge was rebuilt in 1930 and the tramway initially routed through the Northern Arch. Between 1938 and 1939, the tight curve between the backwater and the harbour was supplemented by a new curve on the newly infilled section of the quayside, and the tramway was relocated to the outer arch of the bridge where it remains today. The track layout at the quay station was gradually increased from a single track to a double track layout up to 1961, and finally a 3-track arrangement which persisted till the end of regular traffic. Regular goods traffic ceased in 1972, although fuel oil was transported to a facility at the pier until 1983. Regular passenger services ceased in 1987, when the South Western Main Line to Weymouth was provided with the third rail electrification, which is incompatible with street running. There were some experiments in 1997 with a flywheel-powered vehicle, the Parish People Mover, but this did not result in a permanent traffic on the tramway. The last known use of the branch was on the 2nd of May 1999 for a special Pathfinder Tours charter. For local rail enthusiasts and those interested in the heritage of the line, it will now become a memory encapsulated in photos and old film. Very similar to other local services such as the line to Portland, which the last train used in 1965, and the Upwey Junction to Abbotsbury line in 1952. There we go. That's the tram lines, the Weymouth tram lines that are going to be started to be taken up on the 5th of October. Now, let's come right back up to date, and I mean right back up to date with something hot off the press this week. This week, the government has launched the NHS Track and Trace app. The app is designed to alert us if we've been near anyone who has been tested positive with coronavirus. It also has got various other features about how to get tested and symptoms to look for. So if you've got a phone that's capable of using it, so an Android phone or an Apple iPhone with some of the latest software on it, then I would certainly recommend downloading it. It's now also a legal requirement for certain public venues to display a QR code. And some of you might be wondering what a QR code is. So it's one of these things. So if you go into any public places, you may find this QR code or something similar to that displayed. And the idea is if you've got the app on your phone, you can scan that QR code and book yourself into that venue. Then if anybody else goes into that venue, gets scanned in and then tests positive for coronavirus, you can get a little warning to say somebody's been tested positive and that you should get a test. The poster that we displayed there this is one that's actually up in All Saints Church, as churches like other venues have to display these QR codes now. Some venues it's compulsory, others it's voluntary, and it may also be that you are also asked for your individual details for the venues as well as having the QR code displayed and scanning it with your phone. The NHS have produced a nice little cartoony video that explains a bit more about how the app works, and I thought it'd be worth sharing that with you this evening.
The NHS COVID-19 app is a vital part in the fight against coronavirus. Now, based on Apple and Google's privacy-preserving technology, the app will help us safely live our lives, protecting you and others. If your postcode district becomes high risk, the app will let you know and give you advice on what action to take. And if you come into close contact with another user who reports a positive test result, the app will send you an anonymous alert. A built-in QR scanner lets you check into venues quickly and easily. You can check your symptoms in the app, and if they suggest you may have coronavirus, the app is an easy way to get tested. Any data shared with the app is held on your phone. Nobody will know who or where you are. You can delete the app and all data at any time. The new NHS COVID-19 app is the fastest way to see if you're at risk from the virus. The faster you know, the quicker you can alert and protect your loved ones. Download it today.
There we go. So that's obviously the new app that's come live this week and is part of a suite of measures to try and keep us all safe. But as I've said many, many times before, the basic principles work well. If you wash your hands, you cover your face and you keep your distance, as well as using the app, hopefully we'll maintain the very, very low levels that we have locally of coronavirus and keep us, our families and friends and loved ones all safe. Let's move on and let's have a look at the weather that we're going to have in the week ahead. And there we go, we'll pop it up on the screen for you. It looks as if Sunday's going to be a nice day with the temperature up to 16 or 17. And Monday and Tuesday are going to become a bit more cloudy. Wednesday looks as if it's going to be the wettest day of the week. And then Thursday and Friday is going to be a bit of a mixed bag where we're not quite sure whether we're going to get sun, cloudy or showers. So a mixed bag the week ahead, but it's still not too cold. So hopefully we won't need to have the fires on or the central heating going too much in the week ahead. Moving on to other things that affect us locally, such as roadworks and travel. There's ongoing roadworks and parking restrictions in Old Castle Road as works continue to deal with the subsidence issue there. The local restrictions around Weymouth Harbour, which were put in to help local traders during coronavirus, should be being lifted this weekend. On Chickerell Road, there's a closure and roadwork, at the junction with Glennie Way for Southern Gas, and that's due to be ongoing until the 30th of September, and traffic lights may be in place there. And at Cold Harbour in Chickerell, there's roadworks happening until the 30th of October, which also may cause delays. You'll remember last week I also mentioned that there's works on the Rodwell Trail continuing into October, which may cause some obstructions on Wyke Road at the Boot Hill end. And in fact, I came that way one day this week, and there were some big lorries there offloading some bits down onto the trail, which did cause a bit of obstruction, but it's not there all the time. On the railways, the only planned engineering works affecting people travelling from Weymouth are over this weekend, with engineering works between Eastleigh and Winchester and a bus replacement service in place. Moving on then to what's coming up, what's on. On the 4th of October, the Southern Armour Group will once again be at the Knowth Fort with a range of fully functioning remote control scale models, including tanks and military vehicles. I know that's always a popular one to visit. On the 1st of November at Weymouth Pavilion, the complete works of William Shakespeare are going to be produced by Adam Long, Daniel Singer and Jess Wingford. All 37 plays. But don't panic, they're going to do it in an abridged version in 97 minutes. So if you're interested in Shakespeare, or if you're not interested in Shakespeare and thought you'd like to go and give it a go, that's the 1st of November at Weymouth Pavilion. On the 2nd of November at Weymouth Pavilion, you can join Strictly Come Dancing champion siblings Kevin and Joanne Clifton for an intimate show produced especially for a socially distanced audience. The talented siblings will perform some of your favourite ballroom and Latin dances with their professional dance partners. They'll sing songs from their latest CD and tell stories about their dancing lives and, of course, Strictly. Now, I do suggest that this is going to be very popular, so do get in early because tickets will be limited with a very socially distanced audience. Now in the What's On slot for something that's not on. Sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But very popular local event has been Dorchester Beerex, the local camera event held at Dorchester each year. And they've actually had to cancel the 2021 event due to the coronavirus situation. Now, Dorchester Beerex has supported many local charities to the tune of over £200,000 in recent years. Things like Dorchester Scouts, Headway, Stroke Society, Alzheimer's Society, Dorset and Somerset Air Ambulance, and even into Weymouth with the Weymouth RNLI and MV Freedom. Organisers do hope, however, that it will be back in 2022. Of course, things on within White Regis. Tomorrow at All Saints Church, there'll be the regular communion service at 9:30, which will also be live streamed. There'll be services on Tuesday evening, an evening service at 5 p.m, and communion on Wednesday morning at 10:30 for those that would like to come along. I also know that the Scout group here in White Regis, as in many other Scout groups across Weymouth and Portland, are starting to have face-to-face meetings this week under very strict COVID secure arrangements. So we'd like to wish them well as well. Of course, and tonight at 7:30, we've got our usual Saturday evening quiz on all our usual live stream locations, including the ones that you're watching this on now, and you'll be very welcome to join in with that as well. So we've come to the end of another programme, and I look forward to being back with you next week. Of course, remember, if you've got any local news, up on the top of the screen is an email address and a telephone number. Do give me a call. Local news, local stories, any events that are coming up, any events that have unfortunately had to be cancelled, do let us know so we can share it with viewers. We're trying to make this slot each week useful to the whole community, particularly in Wyke and Portland and that end of Weymouth, but of course out throughout Weymouth as well. So do keep in touch with us, do let us know. And of course, if you're celebrating a birthday or anything else special, do let us know as well so that we can wish you a very happy birthday as well. So until next week, I'll wish you a good night and a very happy weekend. And I hope the rest of the week is good for you. And I look forward to being with you next week. Good night.